back to Brands Hatch. This is round 4 of the Philippe Chariot Supersport Trophy for the impressive one-make series for Lamborghini Diablo SVR supercars. Had rounds already at Le Mans 24 Hours, at Nürburgring and at Anderstorf, their company on the whole BPR series rounds. As you can see, these supercars not always looked after as well as you might look after your own road car. Nonetheless, great racing this year, and pole position at Brands Hatch, first time it's been there, going not to Michel Ferté, but to fellow Frenchman Jean-Marc Gounon. These Lamborghinis, 550 brake horsepower from 5.7 litres of V12 Lambo engine. They're built specially for the 7-race series, which finishes in Sentul, Indonesia at the end of the year. Well, Gounon comes in at the end of his pole lap. Jean-Luc Marie Laribière congratulates him. Normally they're Ferrari and McLaren drivers slugging it out the BPR GT series, but they're partners here in the Lamborghinis. So great international interest, drivers coming from literally all over the world. And look at this, some of the finest artists in the world, paintings and watches, others too. The McLaren owner Laribière thoroughly enjoying his time here in the Lamborghini Trophy. Let's go down to the starting grid at Brands Hatch then. On pole position, the number 16 car of Gounon and Laribière.
Not live anymore.
Griard, Olivier Griard, second on the grid. And third on the grid, Ferdinand de Lesseps is also third in the championship. I took the chance to talk to de Lesseps.
Oui, tout à fait. Il y a eu des hauts et des bas. Enfin,
Well, he said, I'm very happy
quelques hauts.
to be third place in the championship, he said.
Très content d'être qualifié troisième.
Because there's
Parce qu'il y a quand même beaucoup de
very professional drivers here.
Et ça fait toujours plaisir d'avoir fait une bonne performance.
It's a real pleasure to drive a car with so much performance. Fourth on the grid, Loris Kessel from Switzerland. And behind him on the row 3, Roberto Russo and Michel Neugarten. Neugarten, man who's been having some victories with the Rook Racing Porsche team in GT2 in the BPR series this year. So this is what they do on their days off, or rather their afternoons off. They've just had 4 hours of endurance racing in the BPR series. Now it's the turn of the Lamborghinis for a 50-minute race here on the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. 4.12 kilometers, 2.6 miles. And Gounon and Griard battling out. Qualifying, looks like they're going to be repeating it in the race, both raring to go. They have to hand over halfway or thereafter to their partners. There's a mandatory 1-minute pit stop while they make the changes. No refueling necessary, no tire changes necessary, but next year that will change. Longer races, refueling, and professional and amateur drivers. 2 drivers in each car, not mandatory at the moment. The Stefan Rattel organisation in charge of this series, now seeing off round 4. Ahead of them, 50 minutes of racing on this great circuit here at Brands Hatch in Kent in the Garden of England. Up into Druid's hairpin for the first time, and it is indeed Gounon leaving from Griard, then Kessel, then Neugarten and de Lesseps tucking in behind them. Down through Graham Hill, along the Cooper Straight, into Surtees, then up over the dip, onto the Grand Prix circuit, out into the country. Track doubtless still warm from the BPR series. Race where Porsche so effectively beat Harrods McLaren, Gulf McLaren and West McLaren. Jean-Marc Gounon, man normally at home in the Enya Ferrari, man who set the most pole positions this year in the BPR series. But Ferrari bringing only 1 car for the BPR series this weekend. That the car of Anders Olofsson and Luciano Dellanocci. So Gounon is the man without the drive in the BPR series, but here handsomely leading the Lamborghini Philippe Chariot Supersport Trophy from pole position. Still ahead of Griard, still ahead of Kessel. Maurice Kessel, Swiss Formula 2 driver of some years ago. That goes back a long way to the mid-1970s when he used to race at Thruxton, places like that. Many of you may remember him. There in the 22 car is indeed Loris Kessel. And the rest of these Pro-Am drivers, a lot of them, as Autosport rather unkindly said prior to the weekend, gentlemen who have more wealth than racecraft. Well, these two, of course, both former Formula One drivers. They know how to fight, and they are doing it here on the former Grand Prix circuit. 550 horsepower out of those fat rear wheels. Oh, and a problem already. This is Didier Cataz, French Formula 3000 driver, Formula 3 driver, getting tangled up a little bit. And Tanguy there in that beautiful purple-coloured. No, it is Cataz indeed, yes, on the 11 car. He was to have shared with Tanguy, but Tanguy not making it this weekend. Well, out in the country, through these beautiful series of bends, Dingledale chicane, and then into Stirlings. It's a hard but highly cambered left-hander back into clearways. Out of clearways through Clark Curve underneath the new Fulston Centre. And then another lap completed. So Olivier Griard, normally driving the Harrods McLaren, not quite able to get underneath Jean-Marc Gounon, the man normally driving for Ferrari. Has a go going up the hill to Druids, braking hard for the hairpin, but very clean racing this. Beautiful flame out from these V12 unsilenced engines, most glorious sound, reminiscent of anything of the V12 Matras of the 1970s. Working on the theory, if they look good and they sound good, then they must go good. Well, more problems up at Druids. A little bit of French kissing there. Locked together as they go through there. Jacques Troppanaar. Oh, but off the track goes the 11 car of Didier Cataz. So Didier Cataz off at the bottom of Paddock Hill bend. So Paddock Hill, graveyard for many cars, claims another victim. Cataz will not be getting out of that. As we pick up Tiffany Dull there. BBC commentator, wheelbase commentator Tiffany Dull in the number 26 car there. He's sharing with Lindsay Owen-Jones, and he is having a great fight there. This is the third place battle at the moment. Loris Kessel just ahead of him. Lovely shot there as Tiffany Dull leads Ferdinand de Lesseps. De Lesseps, the man we talked to on the grid of this race. And right behind them, Neugarten. So the race order at the moment: Gounon, Griard, Kessel, Nidal in fourth, then de Lesseps, then Neugarten. No, but Nidal's off. Nidal goes off. Westfield Bend, that was Westfield Bend, was it? Or yes, Westfield Bend indeed, and he went very wide, let both the Frenchman and the Belgian through. So de Lesseps into fourth place, Neugarten fifth, and Tiff in 190 bound back into sixth place. De Lesseps, former world Group C2 champion, driving for Chamberlain Spice. Back end of the 1980s, doing a great job here. He won the Le Mans opening race on the road, but was then penalised because officials had not given him the full minute stopover in the pits. It's compulsory on these events. So great racing here in the Lamborghini series. Traffic climbing all over itself. But with this much power, of course, drivers are inevitably having trouble keeping on the black stuff. Back marker being passed there. Oh, big lock up for de Lesseps. Michel Neugarten still tucked under him. There's Jean-Marc Gounon. Through Westfield, 1-2, Dingledale. Then round the corner into Stirlings. circuit, all these drivers very much like. He's just dropped Olivier Griard a little. I think it's traffic that's caused it. Just split them a bit. Griard is right there, though. He's only a matter of a couple of seconds behind him, just out of the picture at the moment. These two, the class of the race, and really pushing on hard. Indicators going, but not going in the pits. Tiffnedal still holding that sixth place. Big group of cars behind him. Thoroughly enjoying this taste of one-make Lamborghini superpower. Michel Ferté, star of the BPR series, normally driving the Pilote Ferrari. This weekend driving the Pilote Lamborghini. Well, this is series sponsor himself, Philippe Chariot, the Swiss watchmaker, backs the series and backs that up with his driving. Oh, big moment for Lesseps there. Got pushed right onto the apex in this battle with Kessel and Neugarten that's continuing all around the circuit. Off goes Roberto Romano in the Fujitsu Lamborghini. Gets back on the track as first pit stops come off. Car of Edward Chauffeur. Chauffeur handing over to Fredin. He rejoins first of the routine stops. 1 minute stop. Oh, problem there for Laurent Haché, another victim down at Paddock Hill Bend. Another one deep in the sand. He's going nowhere. Here's the lead battle still. And that gaudily painted Lamborghini behind them of Hervé Poulain and Eric Graham. Eric Graham, the resident comedian of the BPR series. Hervé Poulain, the resident artist. Braking heavily for Paddock, and Griard having a look round the outside of Gounon, but he cannot do it. The black and orange Lamborghini still perfectly controlled. And look at all that wreckage down the bottom. There's more to add to it as Laurent Haché walks away from the wreckage. Gone off again, and his race over for the day. So 3 cars now off, down at the bottom of Paddock. There's a car there on the left just going by. It looked like the car of Malchet, Jean-Pierre Malchet and Gérard Dillman. Oh, this big battle almost ends in disaster. Whoa. Jean-Marc Gounon suddenly decided he was going for the pits, and Griard, seeing that happen, decided I'll follow him, but Gounon going much too fast. Did he try to sell Griard a dummy there? It's a late entry into the pits, and Gounon made it almost fatally late. Absolutely locked up sideways, comes into the pits. Gounon's going to hand over to Jean-Luc Marie-Laribière, and Griard over to Thomas Büscher, his teammate. Let's have a look again. Well, in he goes, far too fast, has the car absolutely squirrely, and Griard follows him in at a more orderly pace. We're going to take a break. Stay with us. Rejoin Speedworld at Brands Hatch as we continue to follow the Lamborghini Trophy Race, the Philippe Chariot Supersport Series, for these magnificent Lamborghini Diablo SVR supercars, 5.7 litres, 550 horsepower. And we just saw Jean-Marc Gounon and Olivier Griard come into the pits to hand over to their co-drivers. The co-drivers continue the fight. So this is Laribière in Gounon's car and Thomas Büscher, 1995 BPR world champion, at the wheel of the yellow Griard car there, the number 17 car. Well, Büscher on a charge. He's been driving all afternoon in the BPR series. He's obviously better warmed up to hit the Laribière. He takes the lead. He was fourth in the BPR race after running out of fuel after John Nielsen, his teammate, ran out of fuel on the very last lap, crawled over the line in fourth, but just beaten by the Gulf McLaren of Pierre-Henri Raffanel and Lindsay Owen-Jones. There goes our leader, the new leader now. Gunon had that other car out in front all the time, shadowed by Griard. Thomas Boucher takes it over, a bit squirrely there in droids as he warms up himself. Puts the car in the lead, has Griard given him a big enough buffer to stay there till the end of this 50-minute race. That's what we have to wait and see. Well, big fight going on behind them as Laribière begins to get swallowed by the following pack. Ferdinand de Lesseps, Michel Neugarten, this man, Loris Kessel, and Laribière all fighting out second to fifth places. There's one of the earlier casualties. Oh, big problem here for series sponsor Philippe Chariot. He's had a big spin out in the country. There's cars going either side of him, but he gets it back together. That was going through Bedingle. No, going down into Derek Minter Straight and Dingle Dell. So Laribière being swallowed up now. The second place man about to lose that second place to Ferdinand de Lesseps. So de Lesseps, who's the great-grandson of the build of the Suez Canal, driving single-handedly in this race. Still legal this year, but as I mentioned earlier, next year will be mandatory to have two drivers, and Stefan Rittel looking to run perhaps 90-minute races with a 25-litre fuel bottle offered to teams in the middle of the race just to make the distance. And two drivers mandatory. Perhaps one professional, one amateur. Be an interesting combination we shall have to see. This is more or less what they have today in any case. Perhaps a little bit unfair to call Boucher an amateur, but he is a gentleman racer as opposed to his co-driver here in the car, Olivier Griard. So Thomas Boucher, the Cologne banker, doing a great job here. And he's won 2 BPR races this year, and of course he won in Anderstorp in the Lamborghini round 3. Falling further and further back now, Laribière from Gunon. The checkered flag's out at the end of the 50 minutes. We're waiting for Thomas Boucher to come round and take the place. Ferdinand de Lesseps will be second. Michel Neugarten will finish in third, and Gunon and Laribière, if they make it to the end, will be in fourth, just in front of Loris Kessel. So Laribière managing to fight off Kessel here. Here's our winner coming through Clearways and Jim Clark curve for the last time. Thomas Boucher winning for himself and Olivier Griard at the end of 50 minutes of racing at an average speed of 101.35 miles per hour. So Ferdinand de Lesseps second, Michel Neugarten third, and Jean-Marc Gunon, Jean-Marc Marie Laribière in fourth place ahead of Kessel. Well, of the 28 starters, 19 make it to the flag. The rest of them we saw for ourselves, littered around the circuit. Boucher and Griard congratulating each other. Griard almost unable to believe that Thomas not only maintained his second place, but then gave him the lead and the victory. So good day for Olivier. Second with Andy Wallace in the BPR race. Thomas Boucher making up for not winning the BPR today. You win the Lamborghini.
Yeah, I rather say I would love to have won the BPR, but no, we had a good race. Car was all right, and we didn't do any mistakes, so we won. He did a great drive, so it was all right. We were a bit unlucky in the BPR. Really.
Olivier, bonne course pour vous?
Oui, c'est une très très bonne course et je suis surtout très ravi pour Thomas parce que il n'a pas eu beaucoup de
Great
réussite.
finish for Thomas, says Olivier. He said, I'm really amazed he was able to keep our lead, our buffer, and put it in the lead. Very impressed. I talked to Ferdinand de Lesseps.
Ferdinand de Lesseps, deuxième place.
Second place today.
C'est la deuxième aujourd'hui.
Well, yeah, he explains our second in GT2 today in the BPR race, driving for Marcos with Koroiza, Tommy Erdos. The second place in the Lamborghini as well isn't bad for a day's work.
Et je me suis fait un peu doubler, puis il y a eu pas mal de bagarres et c'était très très bien. Et d'ailleurs tout était très propre et très très bien.
Et troisième, Michel
Third place, Neugarten.
Je suis un Ferdinand de Lesseps déchaîné sur un circuit qu'il connaissait bien parce que moi je vais pas rouler au
Well, good
BPR
fight
ici,
with
donc 27,
Ferdinand
je suis la
all the
première fois que je
time.
roule. C'est un circuit qu'il faut connaître et malheureusement après un tiers de la course je n'avais plus
Unfortunately,
d'embrayage,
this couldn't
donc j'ai dû
quite
faire 60% de la course
get
sans
past.
embrayage. Problème.
Little problem there, maybe could have done better. Well, there's the podium finish, and that's the finish of this round of the Lamborghini series at Brands Hatch.